Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. We are coming to you live from the X Factor of Safety Studios here in Houston, Texas. We're streaming to you live on all our social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, as well as over on the radio station, safetyfm.com, Safety FM Live, and Safety FM app. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Let me get some of the aesthetics out of the way, and let me introduce my VIP guest, Mr. Marques. How are you, Mr.
How you
Marques? Look
doing,
at that.
Pedro?
How
Doing
you
all
doing,
right?
bro? Oh, man,
Doing
how are
good.
you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you good.
All right, good. So, just with getting right into the meat of things, we're streaming across all the platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, over on the radio station. So thank you for joining us, Marques. I greatly appreciate you coming into this and wanting to be a part of the X Factor Safety live stream. We already got some comments coming in, but we're going to get right into what we're going to talk about today: the power of pivoting. So let our audience know a little bit about Marques first, and then we'll go into that driving factor, the power of pivoting.
So me, I'm from Washington, D.C., Pedro. I went to Howard University. I was drafted to the National Football League in 2003 by Jack Del Rio, who's now the defensive coordinator for the Washington football team. I had a phenomenal experience in the National Football League, played for almost 6 years, was phenomenal, great friends, great leadership, great culture, a lot of hard work, but it was a real great atmosphere overall. And for me, Pedro, pivoting in the NFL really taught me a lot because I had different teams I had to adjust to, different cultures, different teams, coaches, different position coaches, different caliber players, different conferences. So I had to do a whole lot of pivoting and readjusting, changing my strategy without changing my vision. And as a result of that, I had a nice career. But when I left the NFL, I didn't really pivot well. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't ready mentally in that right mindset. And I got hooked on gambling, nightlife, alcohol, addiction for about months. And then finally, I got myself together and I pivoted again into a construction company owner. And I grew a business from $0 to a multi-8-figure business in less than 4 years.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, different, NFL player, you spent some time in the NFL, I think it was 4 teams: Jaguars, Ravens, the Bills, and the Titans. So like you said, different conferences, different, coaches, different mindsets. So when you were when you got drafted, what was your initial thought of leadership? And then before you got out, how did that change over time?
So when I got drafted in the NFL, I really understood that leadership came from within and the ability to drive towards a goal. But when I left the NFL, I really learned a lot more about coming together with certain teammates and certain cultures and certain aspects and bringing that whole power and that whole magnitude to another level. And because of that, it taught me a lot about teamwork. It taught me a lot about how to move and how to adjust to become better in corporate America, which really helped me a lot. Again, when I came in, I knew leadership was about driving and self-sustaining. But when I left the NFL, I understood there was more about team culture, team atmosphere, and coming together to actually work towards a common goal because, you can't win alone in the National Football League.
Nice. No, and that's great because, again, you have all different walks of life coming into the NFL. Different backgrounds, different mindsets, but you have to be unified as one for the greater good, which is winning the football game, right? So in your tenure of being in the NFL, what or who was your biggest mentor?
My biggest mentor is going to probably be my brother. My brother was huge in my life for helping me get things done, helping me move and get things accomplished on a bigger scale. As a result of that, he helped me to understand that football was not just a game. It was a way to keep your whole life moving forward. And if you put yourself in a position of actually doing what you need to get done, working hard, and putting yourself in that right mindset, you can have whatever you want to have successful when you leave the game, when you're in the game. So my brother, who was a first ballot Hall of Famer, 12-year NFL career, first pick of the Ravens ever, was a huge positive impact in my life for helping me to stay on track with what I was trying to get done as far as being that mentor that I needed.
No, that's awesome. And it's always good to have somebody to look up to and to ask for advice. And in essence, kick you in the ass when you need to get, kicked in the ass, right? To keep you on the straight and narrow. Now transitioning out of the NFL, fast forward, 5-6 years, what made you want to get into the construction business?
Let's be real about that. What got me into the construction business was chasing what I call the almighty dollar. I got into probably the most lucrative, but by far the most risky form of construction and development and real estate, which was site work, earth moving, dirt moving, utilities, grading, demolition, concrete. Great business if you're well funded, if you know the business and you have contacts. And it's phenomenal business, but I didn't know any of those three. And it's amazing how we grew to 8-figure business through some luck, some great hires. But unfortunately, Pedro, as my ability to not know the industry came through to people, they saw that we really didn't belong in the industry and it's advantage of us. And at the end of it, we literally just became the laughingstock of town because people knew us as a minority contractor who was good at something. They also knew we didn't know everything about the business and hurt us near the end of our tenure.
Wow. No. And then owning a construction business like that, like you said, earthwork, lots of machinery that was involved, lots of personnel that had to be involved. What was your safety like? And again, I incorporate and I try to incorporate all my guests back into safety somehow, some way. So you being in the construction field and owning a construction business, how did safety play a big part on some of the projects starting off?
Oh, safety was everything. OSHA was always on job sites, making sure you had the right protective personal equipment, making sure we had the right setup, making sure we knew how to operate our machinery, making sure we knew how to operate, getting the trucks in and out of the job site, making sure we had our trench boxes for going underground to set the utility lines. I mean, literally, safety was everything in construction. OSHA would hammer you to the end of the earth and back if you didn't have everything right from a safety perspective. So that's something we did pretty well. We had a really good safety person that was kind of going out to all the jobs, making sure the guy had steel-toe boots, make sure they had their glasses on, their hard hat on, had their vest on, all that kind of stuff. So that was never our problem with Caden at all. We really followed the OSHA guidelines pretty straightforward.
Nice. Now, and you being, the owner and principal of the company, founder, did you ever go out to the job sites and see what was going on, interact with the employees? And I ask this because a lot of times, in some construction companies, you don't see the president, the CEO, the owner of the company. You see, your mid-level management, maybe one or two upper management might come, but actually interacting with your personnel is key to, one, cultivating culture, and two, to show that sound leadership. So were you ever on job sites and checking up on what's going on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that was how our company grew from $0 in 2008 to an 8-figure business by the end of 2011. We literally became the largest African-American subcontractor in the area of site work and development and utilities in Baltimore City for 2 years in the, again, in that realm. And that's what we did. I was very good at that. I was always out on job sites. I was always very humble. I was always talking to our people. I was handling problems that we had with some of our clients and our customers. But unfortunately, where my whole thing went wrong or awry was when I won a Minority of the Year award for the state of Maryland. And in between that and a lot of money in the bank and a lot of, I won't say dumb luck, but a lot of luck to kind of get where we were, my ego really became just bigger than life. And I literally thought that everything I was doing was always geared towards me being right, or me always having to have the last word, or me always saying everything I do is gold. And it wasn't that. And then when my best employee left the company in the summer of 2012, by the fall of 2012, we started having some real bad problems. And by the winter of 2012, we were preparing to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and close the doors to the organization.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a story. And not even, story. That's some trial and tribulation right there. That's, big up. And like you said, you were at the peak, and then some stuff went wrong, and, you ended up in essence losing it all. And I'm going to hit some of these questions because I want to make sure we're getting everybody that's in the chat. How are you, Mr. Nathan? Good to see you. Good to see everybody here. Good evening, Jesus. Cheryl Whitfield said, good evening, all. Nice rebound, Marcus. Good job. Stacy said this is going to be a fantastic show. So excited to be here supporting Marcus and the X Factor. Greatly appreciate it. OSHA's so complicated. Yes, it is, Stacy. That is it can be coming from a safety professional. It can be. Now, what is worse, OSHA or the Corps of Army Engineers?
For me, it was the Corps of Army Engineers. I worked on several military bases. I worked on Fort Meade and I worked on Fort Belvoir, and they were both. The Army Corps of Engineers was absolutely way worse than OSHA, in my personal opinion. And again, being a utility contractor, setting those stormwater sewer lines on an Army base, man. And again, Pedro, you know what? You're right. OSHA is tough if you don't know the OSHA rules, which I didn't.
Right.
So I have someone who knew OSHA rules. That's how we did it.
Got you. Yeah, and again, there's all kinds of consultants out there, especially even if you start off small and you grow to, like you said, an 8-figure business. Your personnel start growing with you. Then you're able to end up growing that person that knows maybe just a little bit, but as they grow with the company, they start. You invest a little bit in them, sending them to OSHA classes, taking them to the right training, even as the company gets bigger, they end up becoming, your corporate safety director, which then some leadership goes into that. They have to pivot, and it just circles around of our topic of being able to pivot. What's going on, Nick Dorsey? Good to see you.
Know that guy, man.
Yeah, Nick's a good dude. I had him on my show not too long ago. Tony Taylor said, good stuff, Pedro and Marcus. Greatly appreciate it.
I know Tony. I've been on Tony's show.
Nice. Shane Oliver said he just got home from a 5-hour drive. Thank you for being here, Shane. Greatly appreciate
Shane, you man. Thanks for coming on, man. That's awesome.
So it definitely, the Army Corps of Engineers and OSHA. Yes, Army Corps of Engineers is definitely a little more stringent. I wouldn't say hard, but a little more stringent due to some of the regulations that they have to go by, on the federal sector, that area. But, and like Ms. Cheryl said, right, you add the safety team as the organization grows, and your safety team ends up growing. So say you have, satellite companies that go to, that are in different states. Now you have to think about, different state legislatures, different state regulations. So, and you guys were only based in Baltimore, correct?
Yeah, we did work in Baltimore. We did work in other parts of Maryland, a little bit of DC, and then we were close to. It was Maryland, but it was close to to Virginia. We were in Fort Belvoir, so that was a job. We really worked the tri-state area, DC and Virginia.
Nice. DMB. Yeah. I actually used to live in Virginia. I used to live in Lynchburg, Virginia. Worked for a steel mill up there. Yeah. Yep. So I know about the DMV. And then I was stationed in the military. I was stationed in Connecticut. So everything up there on the East Coast, I definitely know. I-95 was my friend for a while.
That's good too. I'm in North Carolina, so you can go 95 all the way up or all the way down, either or.
Nice. Yeah. Except getting, I mean, sometimes you take the side roads if there's a crash and it ends up getting backed up for days. It's just it gets crazy.
I agree.
So after the yeah, no, definitely. You know, I know sometimes, and especially in the wintertime. In the wintertime, I-95 gets crazy if there's one accident, two accidents. So after the company closed its doors, what did you do after that? What was Marques doing after we shut down the doors?
Well, when Marques shut the doors, literally he had packed up everything. I packed everything up that I owned, which wasn't much, because our house was foreclosed on. The bank had repossessed the house, so we weren't going to be able to live in that anymore. And we scrambled to find a rental. My fiance, who's now my wife, and my stepdaughter, we found a rental in Raleigh, was in Cary, North Carolina. Got down here, moved. After moving expenses, everything, we got down here, Pedro, we have $400 to our name. That's it. The house was foreclosed on. Both cars were repossessed in the same day. We got to Cary. The next day when we got here, both cars were taken off of our driveway by the repo man in the same day. Couldn't afford the cars anymore. We barely had money to eat. We were eating out of food pantries. We were at the point where I thought we were going to go homeless. Like, that's what I literally thought, was the fact that my fiance was going to go live with her mother and her father, which was not far away. And I was going to check into a homeless shelter because I didn't really know them that well at that time. It was like maybe 4 months. I'm like, how are you going to tell your girlfriend's parents, hey, can I move with you all after 4 months? Like, what? And this is no. So that's where I was planning to go, was a homeless shelter. But fortunately, the NFL gave me an opportunity and said, okay, Marques, you want to do this. You want to be great. You want to get your life together. We'll pay 4 months of your bills to your creditors. We won't give you the money. We'll pay it to the creditors. And that's what they did. And so as a result of that, didn't go homeless. I was working at Merrill Lynch in Durham. Things were going well, so I thought, till I got fired 2 months later. It really wasn't going very well at all. Got a job the next day at a construction company, Pedro, working for them in their sales division, their sales parts store. Fired 5 days later. They shut the sales store down. Numbers weren't good. The only job I could get, Pedro, was a janitor making $8.25 an hour on the graveyard shift. And I think about that, and I tell everybody that that job paid bills, but without that job, Pedro, where I am today, it would never happen, because to learn so much about humility and accountability. And I actually learned a lot of that, if not all of it, from my spoiled milk moment. And I tell my clients that that somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty protruding banana peels and everything you could think of bad, Pedro, got on my body, my skin, my clothes, my hands, everything. And when I finally threw the trash out because I couldn't see the rip on the front side of the bag, after cleaning myself up, sitting on the curb, I think I cried for about a good 10 minutes. And I said, wow, what's happened to my life? And I said, what's happened to my life is I have no accountability. I have no ownership of what's going on. And that's when I made the decision to go home, take accountability. I wrote down the 3 biggest strengths that I possess. That's what I built off. All of my clients know on our first call, we always 3 biggest strengths. We can fix your weaknesses later on, but I want to know what your strengths are, because it's easy to tear yourself down. It's hard to build yourself up. So we go over that first. And I did that. And I said, wow, I'm going to be a speaker. And I start off on my journey, Pedro. And I did that September 2013. And I got my first paid job April 2016. Took me 2.5 years, Pedro, to get my first paid job. Finally got that first paid job, Pedro, and I haven't looked back since. I've worked for 19 Fortune 500 companies in the last about 5 years. I work for the National Football League, player engagement, NFL team. The Buffalo Bills are one of my clients. I have food product companies. I have real estate companies, mortgage companies, consulting. I've written 2 best-selling books. But I'm a guy, Pedro, that literally was making $8 an hour. I'm a person that had made millions of dollars, lost everything. I'm a person that had to pivot many times in my life because I made mistakes. I got overzealous. I got arrogant. I got so egotistical I couldn't be in the same room with my ego. And all that cost me dearly, to the point where I was almost on the street corner with never hold a sign in my hand. I would go find something to do, but I was going to be on a street corner living, trying to figure out where to go next, because life had gotten that bad about 8 years ago. It was April of 2013. Life had gotten that bad.
Dang, man, what a story, what a backstory, and now, and thank you for being open with that. But again, that's what makes you, right? So when you hit that dark point, those dark hours, going through your mindset, and like you said, you got a job as a janitor, pushing through and to where you're at now. How did your mindset shift? Now, I know you said you sat down, you wrote your 3 biggest strengths. What else pushed you through that dark hour to now?
What pushed me through is I had become a statistic, unfortunately, when I filed a bankruptcy in 2013. And I was so broke, Pedro, it took me 8 months. Yeah, it took about 8 months to pay off a $3,300 bankruptcy docket to my attorney to be able to protect myself from $5.5 million of debt. And my bankruptcy attorney told me that I had the most creditors on my bankruptcy document ever. I had 177. And with that, I had to make some decisions. But again, I was so broke, so poor, that literally I couldn't pay off the bankruptcy document. I was basically exposed to creditors for about 7 or 8 months. But when I realized I had become a statistic, and I made that decision in September 2013, that spoiled milk moment, to actually say, okay, what can I do differently? What can I actually make some pivots? What can I actually adjust and make and change my strategy without changing my vision? When I realized that I had gotten to that point, becoming a statistic, I needed to change. And that's what got me through all the dark times, because I could have easily just stayed down and played the poor me role, but I wasn't interested in that, because at the end of the day, I made the mistakes. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And because of that, I had to own it. And it all started with saying, you became a statistic. You have 2 choices. You can either stay a statistic, or you can get off your ass and get back up and do what you got to do. And I chose option B.
That's awesome. And again, option B, you keep, even once you hit rock bottom, and I say this, a lot. Once you hit rock bottom, there's no place else to go but up, right? And your story and that inspiration right there to continue to fight and grind to where you're at now. Miss Cheryl Whitfield said a character building experience. Greatly appreciate that. Nick Dorsey said Bills Mafia. Marcus called it called it a while back.
3 months ago, I called it. 3 months. Here's the thing, and thanks for saying that, Nick. The Bills are my client, one of my clients. So every year I talk to their rookies, right? And a lot of their stars were young rookies when I met them. Tre'Davious White, Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, and all these. And I told all these guys, look, in order to make it in this league, you have to do X, Y, and Z and get the respect of your veteran teammates. Once your veteran teammates buy into you, at that point, it's all on you just to do your job to the best of your ability. Sometimes so many rookies worry about their own rookie class liking them. I'm like, well, look, the rookie class is not really important. Like, you do your job, they'll like you. The veterans that are up there, you're trying to take their jobs, and they're like, oh, here's another young rookie coming into the league, and is he gonna be good? Is he gonna actually? Is he gonna get his job? Is he gonna follow assignments? Is he gonna actually be a team player? They want to know all that quickly. And especially so this year with no training camp and all the no OTAs, and training camp and no OTAs, man, this is what I told everybody. The Bills were able to get their culture together, and they lost some tough games, but they also stuck together and never gave up. So at the end of the day, I saw this about 3 months ago, and I said, yeah, the Chiefs are really good. Absolutely are. Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal. Great football player. But it's not just him. It's a lot more than just him. And the Bills believe in themselves. And at the end of the day, Pedro, you talk about safety. If you believe in the man beside you playing football, there's no greater feeling of safety than that. And that's what the Bills have right now. They feel that they can play beside each other. They're safe in each other's hands. And that's why they're winning the close game. That's why they're winning football games.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Miss Cheryl says, what a testimony. Thank you for sharing. Greatly appreciate that. Tiffany, good to see you, Tiffany. She's shouting out Linda. Good to see you, Mr. Steve Bell. How are you? Let's see. Tiffany said, Linda, thanks and hey. Yeah, it's been a while trying.
Oh, Clubhouse. Everywhere.
Yeah, support all the folks now in Clubhouse. So definitely good to see the familiar faces. Oh, my man Jamal Marshall, what's going on? Late to the party, but it's always good to see you, brother. No, so now you got out of the dark times, you picked yourself back up. Now you're a speaker. Why speaking? Why did you want to be a motivational speaker?
That's an interesting question, and I'm going to combat it. I'm going to pivot on your statement. I'm not a motivational speaker. Motivational speaker is somebody that will talk to you and get you excited, rah for a day, a week, month, maybe two. I'm an inspirational personality keynote speaker. I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to give you action steps you put into your own life. If I motivate you, fire me, the wrong person. Because at the end of the day, what I want is to give you my own story so you actually know I'm full of shit and I'm actually who I say I am. And I also want to give you action steps you can actually put into your own life right away to actually get you results. A motivational speaker, I feel, is selfish because all you're doing is telling your story, trying to make yourself feel and or look better in front of people that you don't know. Inspirational shares their story with vulnerability, honesty, character, and truth, and gives people the highs, lows, but the real deal Holyfield on what you need to do and, or most importantly, not do. Then gives you a challenge. What can you do to push yourself past this sticking point, that issue? Then once I challenge you, I will give you 3, maybe 4 tops strategies to alleviate that pain point so that you can actually move forward in your life with conviction, passion, and a strategy for execution. I tell people all the time, if you have a strategy without execution, it's useless, means nothing. Because part of the pivot acronym is tactician, which is actually setting out your strategy and not just setting it out, Pedro, getting it done at the highest level.
Nice. No, shit, you just inspired me to do some shit.
No, that's the difference because you're now inspired. Like I breathe life into you with my story. Your story is just as important as my story. But how do you tell it to help people get past their own personal struggles? I put a post up on social media a couple of days ago. It was me and a picture of Yvonne from Rocky IV. And I said, I felt like in the beginning of my speaking career, the speaking business was Drago. It kept knocking me out, putting me down, knocking me out, putting me down like it did Rocky. But I never gave up, and I'm still here, and now I'm perfecting my craft every day. I'm humbling myself. I'm getting better. I mean, I have 19 Fortune 500 clients. But to me, those clients are the ones that I feel grateful to have, not the other way around. And because of that attitude, when you lose everything, you learn to appreciate everything. And that's where I am today. So I don't care how many companies I speak for, how much money I make an hour. I'm still the person that you can talk to, you can call. I don't give a damn how much money I make per hour. It doesn't matter to me because in it, money comes and goes. It's about the character of who you are and how can you actually help people get by their own issues and pivot to get to where they want to be in life.
No, definitely. And that right there in itself, you know, like you said, you're in it for the value that you can bring and not so much the dollar figure. And that right there is key, because now you know yourself, you know your worth, your true north, your why. And then you're able to impact so many lives with your story. And then you give them actionable items for them to go ahead and set off on their journeys. And that's great. That's awesome. So with all of that being said, you wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about the book.
I've written 2 books. First one, Sleepless Nights, which is my autobiography. And the second book is The Cycle, which is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble right now. And it actually is in every Barnes & Noble bookstore across the country. Talks about 3 major facets: ambition, which is defining your blueprint and setting your goals; drive, being inspired or motivated to get to achieve your goals; and hard work, focus on yourself and not the competition.
No, nice. So what inspired, now I know the autobiography, that's your life and what you went through and where you're at. But what inspired the second book?
What inspired the second book, Pedro, was I wanted to give people a roadmap of how I got from an $8.25 per hour to where I'm at now as a speaker, national, international, a coach, author. I wanted to lay out the step-by-step tactical strategy to give people an idea. Yeah, it's going to be hard work. Yep. Yes, you have to be driven. You can't be motivated. Yep. You have to be ambitious and set out to define your goals. But if I can do it, why can't you? I'm no better than you. Football means nothing in my business today. It's a nice little story for like 30 seconds. But people don't really care about that because people can't relate to football like to that degree. They can relate to business though. Ups, downs, failures, stress, anxiety, sleepless nights, making mistakes, over leveraging. People can relate to that very well. So if I can turn my life around, Pedro, why can't anybody else? I'm no better, no worse. Yeah. I'm just a person. So that's why we wrote the book.
Nice. And that's awesome. So what's the name of the second book again?
The Success Cycle.
The Success Cycle. Go pick that up in Barnes & Noble, all your stores, Amazon. Go pick it up. The Success Cycle by Marques Ogden. Hit some of these comments right here. Let's see. It was Tiffany. Jamal Marshall said, Tiffany, hey fam, feel like an octopus tonight. Gotta get and give. Definitely. Good to see, because I know he had some stuff going on tonight. Now that's what I'm talking about. Marcus is giving it to the people. Don't sleep on this. Steve Bell. That's right. I'm talking about tools, man. Tools. Doc Martin said all of these qualities you mentioned, Marcus, are so important.
They are.
Let's see. Stacy says, as my coach, Marcus, is only 4 weeks. In only 4 weeks, has showed me how to take a deep dive and find that courage inside me to step into my purpose and calling. That's awesome. That's awesome, Stacey.
Yeah, I've been coaching her for about a month now. She's made great strides. Stacy has learned that everyone's story matters. And it's not just about, it's about sharing your story to help others who are too afraid to speak their own stories or their own issues. See people like Stacy or the great speakers that I work with, that I coach. That's what it's really about. That's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. That's plain and simple. We're all people. No one's better than the other. We just all need an opportunity to hear and give our best selves. And Stacey's doing that. And I couldn't be proud of the progress she's made. And it's just great to see people like that continue to move forward into their calling.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then Miss Cheryl said it's always about humility. And that's it. Could not agree more. So what advice would you give a younger you? Maybe say pre NFL draft. What advice would you give yourself?
I told myself to learn how to pivot. It's a 5-step process. P, be poised. Be confident in what you do when you make your new choice or strategy. I inspire. Look to inspire your teammates, look to inspire your coaching staff. Actions you do, not the words you say. Have a victory mindset. Don't worry about just your growth. Don't think you know everything. Worry about your teammates' growth, your coach's growth, the community's growth. Anybody you come in contact with, have a victory mindset to approach it in that manner. O, observe. Open your eyes and your ears. Keep your mouth closed. Look at what's around you and observe what you need to do. And then T, be a tactician. Draw up your strategy and execute. If I would have known how to pivot when I was younger, be poised, inspire, have a victory mindset, observe, and be a tactician, I would have had a much easier transition into my construction business. And I don't know, I could have done things a little bit differently in the NFL as well.
There we go. Now we're back. No, we are back now. Sorry. That's what happens, and we roll with the punches here on the X Factor Safety. It's that hotel Wi-Fi, man. I tell you, it's hard to do some of these live streams in the hotel. Sometimes the Wi-Fi drops. So hey, we just got to roll with it, man. Roll with it. So I think we were at V.
Yeah. So V is victory mindset. You have to always look at how you can help your team grow and be the best. O is observe. Look at what's on around you and going on. And then T, be a tactician. Execute the strategy you lay out. So be poised, be inspired, have a victory mindset, be observing, and be a tactician. Again, that's pivot. Poised, inspired, victory mindset, observing, tactician.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's some good stuff to live by. Because again, 2020 showed us we had to pivot like crazy. And now we're in 2021. So again, you still might have to pivot from time to time, depending if you're getting a new job, if you're getting a new position at where you're at, you're starting off on an entrepreneurial journey. We have to pivot sometimes when the damn Wi-Fi drops out. Hey, it happens. But again, you have to pivot. You have to be able and do it embracefully. You have to be able to do it embracefully. Embrace all the obstacles that you're faced with, pivot, and then keep moving forward. So that way you don't have to worry so much about the obstacles. You're blowing right through them, right? Just like an NFL player would blow through the line. So
there you go. That's how it was that was the way it always was.
So now kind of get to a little fun stuff. And I greatly appreciate everything that you've shared this evening. I know our audience has gotten some value of your story and how, you were able to pivot into what you're doing now. So what are the top 3 apps in your phone there, Mr. Marques?
Top 3 apps on my phone: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Clubhouse.
I'm getting there.
Okay. What 3 apps would you want to get rid of that you don't use? The ones that are at the back of the phone.
That's that's an excellent question. Let me just take a look here. No, I would probably say Google. No, that's a great one. You know what? Oh, I would say Slack. I don't really use that a whole lot. I would say Skype. I don't use that much at all either. I don't know why it's even on here. And then I would probably say the last one would be any meeting. I don't use that at all either. So those 3 could probably go.
Nice. So now we know what apps you do use, what apps you don't use, and you're going to get rid of. Now, what advice do you want to give our audience before, we go?
Last thing I'll say, Pedro, to people, You have to believe it before you see it. If I didn't believe that I could be a successful speaker, I would have quit after the first 6 months, the first year and a half, everything to get to that point. I would have literally quit and thrown the towel in. But I didn't do that because I believed in my vision more than I could see it at the time. So I tell people all the time, you have to believe it before you see it.
Nice. So let everybody know where they can reach you at. How do they find you? How do they get a hold of you? Maybe, some CEOs out there that watch this on the replay in the morning. Where do they want to book you? How can people get a hold of you?
My website, which is www.marquesogden.com. You can go to Facebook, Marques Ogden, LinkedIn, Marques Ogden, Instagram @Marques Ogden, or Twitter @Marques_Ogden. I'm also on Clubhouse too, Marques Ogden. Or shoot us an email, Marques@MarquesOgden.com. Get in touch with us, hit us up. And again, we're doing it for big companies, which we're very fortunate for. We have Mutual of Omaha next week, and we have Goldman Sachs the week after this. We have Mutual of Omaha and Goldman Sachs both next week, which is exciting for our brand. Two phenomenal organizations that we're looking forward to doing work with next week.
No, that's awesome. That is awesome. And again, everybody that's been in the chat, that's been lighting it up, greatly appreciate all your participation. And all the kind words that have came across. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but y'all know what it is when I'm in the hotel room. So, so with that being said, thank you again, Marques, for blessing us with that and actually coming on to the X Factor live stream. I know our audience and our listeners, once this gets put to a podcast version, will greatly appreciate all your words of wisdom and value. So thank you. Greatly appreciate it. For those that are here all the time on Tuesdays, find me. We got some other exciting guests coming up here in the next few weeks. Put your phones down, stay off of Clubhouse. I hear it's addicting. Please stop. But actually, Clubhouse rooms and you got some good stuff going on in there. So if you use it the right way. But without further ado, y'all know where to find me at. X Factor Safety everywhere except Twitter. Twitter's different. Safety X_Factor. So ask yourself that one question: what is your X factor?